The Soroptimist organization is celebrating its 100th anniversary this year. Joining us today is Deb Markman and Ricky Smith with Soroptimist International Joplin to talk about this global volunteer organization. Thanks for joining us, ladies.
Thanks for having us.
So Deb, let's start with you. Tell us what Soroptimist means and give us a little bit of the history of the organization.
Sure. So we kind of break the words up because they're actually a Latin word. So soro for sister and optima, which means best. So we like to phrase it as best for women. And our vision that we have is that women and girls achieve their individual and collective potential. So whatever they have, we want them to be able to achieve that. We want them to realize their aspirations. So what are their dreams and how do we make that happen? And then probably the most important thing, because we are an international organization, is we want women to have an equal voice in creating that strong, peaceful community that we need worldwide, not just locally. And then how do we do that? Through a mission. And our mission is to transform the lives and status of women and girls. And we want to do that through three areas. So one is education. We feel like that's a real important area. And then empowerment. How do we give women the tools that they need to feel like they can move forward? And then how do we, as Soroptimist International, provide those opportunities? You know, how do we enable those opportunities?
And the organization started in San Francisco, right? About
Correct.
100 years ago?
Yeah, 1921 in Oakland, California. There were a group of women, and this was kind of what they took upon themselves. How do we move forward and do these things? And really, it's about changing the lives of women and girls worldwide. So even though Joplin, you know, we're right here, we're still kind of bubbling up things that will then do things that are global. So that's what's nice about Soroptimist International. We have 75,000 volunteer memberships on an international level. So that's huge. And we're in 121 countries. Wow. So again, our touch is pretty large.
Yeah, because back when the group started, women couldn't do anything. They couldn't own property, couldn't have credit in their own name, rarely attended university. Like they were second-class citizens. They were chattel.
Yeah. Exactly.
So Ricky, talk about how the Joplin Soroptimists are part of the international organization and some of their worldwide initiatives.
Okay. So the interesting thing about our organization is that we have different divisions. We have our local club, but we're part of a region, and that's about 7 or 10 states or so, and we're one of the largest clubs in our region, and we get to do a lot of work with those other clubs at meetings in the spring and in the fall. We learn from each other. And then from our region, we go to a federation, and there are 5 federations throughout the globe. Ours is Soroptimist International of the Americas. And then Soroptimist International of the Americas, and those other 4 federations are a part of our international organization. We're really looking at global collective impact. And so where Joplin Club and our region and our federation are all, we're all moving upward to this international level where we're kind of, what are we making impact on? Where are we moving the needle? What money are we putting toward projects throughout the globe that really are helping move our mission forward? We do a program with our international president, has an appeal. It's a 2-year-long program. Right now, the appeal is called Road to Equality. There's some major topics in that: female genital mutilation, child marriage, rights of older women, forced migration, domestic violence, and human trafficking. And so those are the international projects that each of our clubs are working as we move up that ladder in our organization to impact those things so we have that collective global impact.
And Deb, how is Soroptimist International involved with the United Nations or at that level?
So that's kind of an exciting piece of the puzzle, I find, is that Soroptimist International has a seat at the UN table. And it really started about maybe 10, 15 years after we started, so around the mid-40s. We held a reception for a UN conference. And so at that meeting, the Commission on the Status of Women was established. So in 1946, they said the UN says we're establishing this. group to promote gender equality and the empowerment of women. And so obviously that fits great into our mission. And so we became permanent members in that particular committee. Currently, we have 15 UN representatives, and we are in New York, Geneva, Rome, Nairobi, and Bangkok. So we are kind of spread out, and sometimes they have one member there, and then other times they have up to 5. So it's really a great opportunity. We're not just focused in, for example, the Americas. We're spread out so that we are bringing whose voice we need to advocate for.
Yeah, because women don't have the seat at the table in like many of the Arab countries or those that are predominantly Islamic. And with the fall of Afghanistan back into Taliban hands, we were just talking about that and how troubling that is.
Absolutely.
Because those women over there, now their education is in jeopardy.
Absolutely.
Well, and we talked too about a generation of women that were afforded those concepts that we believe in. Being able to make decisions for yourself. What is the best decision for you is probably not what's going to be told to you. And so there's some great concerns about the women that are in that situation right now.
And does Soroptimist have any, I guess, representatives in those countries?
I don't really know, like in where, we're talking about 121 countries,
Right.
so it's very diverse. But what you have to kind of keep in mind is a volunteer membership. So while, for example, Joplin's club has helped other clubs get started, it does have to kind of bubble up from a group of women, or another club might reach out and say, hey, let's see what we can do to help you with a Soroptimist club. We have some friendship clubs, and so we are partners in crime, you could say, with Bolton, United Kingdom, with their Soroptimist. And then I believe is it Kenya?
Kakamega, Kenya.
Yes, and those are our 2. And Ricky's really involved with we call them friendship links.
Yes.
And so I'll let her kind of talk about that.
We're really fortunate. Our relationship with Bolton goes back several decades. We've exchanged letters and gifts, and we send our newsletter to them so they know what's going on here, and we hear back from them in correspondence. And then with our friendship link in Kenya, we were really lucky that one of their members, their president at the time, was traveling to the United States for a different organization, and she extended her trip and was able to come and attend one of our meetings. And she and our president were actually able to sign our friendship link paperwork together at an event here in town, and so that was really special to us too. And we do hear back and forth from those 2 clubs fairly frequently.
Yeah, and it seems, I looked up a quote by Brigham Young whenever I got prepared for this interview, and it said, when you educate a man, you educate a man, and when you educate a woman, you educate a generation or even a nation. And that is pretty core to your mission.
Absolutely.
And so what is the biggest, I guess, goal for the future for Soroptimist International?
Wow.
I mean, I know there's so many.
Well, I think, because we fall in line with the United Nations 17 sustainable goals, and we don't do all 17. I mean, we're not that large. And, you have to be focused to do collective impact. But, we are about ending poverty, and that is one of the goals that the UN has as well. We also want to protect the planet, and it's, we're talking about, by ensuring that by 2030. That's not that far away, folks.
Right.
So that's another big thing. And then we want all people to be able to enjoy peace and prosperity.
And educating women seems to be at the core of making those things happen. You can teach a woman how to take care of herself, and if she's a single mom, that matters even that much more.
Absolutely.
one of the things the local club is doing this year too for our 100th anniversary, our goal is to have 100 acts of service. So it's a shorter term goal, but we're working through that. We've been able to accomplish 6 or 7 at this point, and we have multiples planned in the near future. But we'll be looking at and celebrating 100 acts of service this year. And so that's going to be something fun for our members to get included in and serve in, but also for people in the community. Our president right now, her name's Linda Banwart, and she says we're the best kept secret in town. We do our work kind of quietly behind the scenes to make impacts in people's lives, and so some of the things that we're going to be doing this year are really focusing on those 100 acts of service and celebrating them with the community.
And can you share what any of those are?
Yeah, we have some really great it's a card. It's a trifold card about size, a little bit bigger than a business card. But it helps people recognize the signs of domestic abuse in their coworkers or their friends, or what are the things that you can look for and where do you get help. We've sent that to an HR conference. We've sent it through 2 different employers' payroll systems, like when their employees got their checks. Right. It was a piece of mail in there for them. But we're working with several people on that project. We were able to go to the Love and Grace, where they've just opened a new home for young moms, young pregnant women who are going to be moms soon. And we worked in the kitchen. We put in shelf paper and we washed dishes and we got everything all set up and ready to go. So it could be anything. Any one of those acts of service will count in that 100, and we'll be celebrating them all year.
That's pretty spectacular. Well, thanks so much for joining us, ladies. I want to thank Deb Markman and Ricky Smith with Soroptimist International of Joplin. We'll be right back with 2 other members of the group. One of them is a recipient of the Live Your Dream Award. Stay with us.
You gotta believe without seeing. You gotta keep going, keep breathing. When you face a day it feels like you're gonna break. You gotta believe without seeing. You gotta keep going, keep breathing. When you face a day that feels like you're gonna break. So lean on the ones that love you, the guardian angels above you, and think about when peace just another color. Ooh, just another color. Just another color.
Welcome back. Joining us now on Newsmakers are 2 more members of Soroptimist International Joplin, Chris Bullard and Chantel Single. Soroptimist International is a global volunteer organization providing women and girls with access to education and training needed to achieve economic independence. Thanks for joining us, ladies.
Thanks for having us.
So, Chris, tell us, what is the Live Your Dream Award?
It is a cash award that is given to a woman that is working to better her life through obtaining additional skills or education.
And how long has it been around, do you know?
I'm not quite sure. I was asking somebody in our club this question, like, how many awards have we given out and how much have we awarded, and she wasn't quite sure. Record keeping hasn't been the greatest, but I know for Joplin, since 2008, we've helped about 30 women, and it's a minimum award of $1,000. So we've awarded at least $30,000 since 2008.
Wow. And I was actually a recipient of a Soroptimist grant when I started
very
college,
cool.
like 100 years ago, or however long it was. But yeah, so they helped me too.
Awesome.
So Chantel, tell us your story. You're not from here. How did you end up in Joplin and Missouri Southern?
Yeah, I'm from South Africa. So 4 years ago, we came to visit my in-laws, and we stumbled upon the Third Thursday, which MSSU held, and I did a tour with MSSU the very next day. I did apply at a couple of universities before coming here, but none of them were very helpful. And Missouri Southern was on top of everything. They helped me through all the process, and so here I am 3 years later in Joplin.
Wow. I mean, it must have been a pretty big culture shock when you came here.
Yes and no. I did visit here a few times before because my brother-in-law lives in Denver, so it wasn't too much of a culture shock, but they do things different here than what they do back in my home country. So it was in between yes and no.
And how big of a place were you from?
Well, definitely not as big as Joplin, although Joplin is
really?
a very small town, or so I've heard. It's not a very big town that I'm from. It's called Cape Town in South Africa, but they do have a very large population.
Okay, so a lot of people crammed into a small place?
Yes, oh yes, and the traffic is horrendous.
So a few good things.
Yes.
Well, that's great. And so what are you majoring in?
Elementary education with special ed.
Okay, and you want to be a teacher?
Oh yes, sure do want to be a teacher.
Do you have kids of your own?
I have two little ones, Mia and Ava. One is just turning 2 in April. She'll be 2 in April, and then Mia 6.
Wow. So has she started school?
Oh, she loves kindergarten.
Does she?
Yeah, she wants to know when I'm going to be a teacher. So I'm like, not in a few years, darling.
What grade do you think you'll teach?
I specifically want to teach special education,
Okay.
so I don't really mind what grade level I teach as long as it's in special education.
Are you planning to make America your home, or are you planning
Yes.
to go back to?
Yes, our end goal is to immigrate to the United States. We are busy currently in the process, but it takes a very long time. So our end goal is to hopefully, when I'm done with my education, to be able to live in the United States.
Well, that's great. It's a great addition for us.
Oh, thank you.
And so, Chris, tell us who is eligible for this award. Who can apply?
It's women who have the primary financial responsibility for their household, and they must have a financial need, and working to obtain a degree or additional skills. And we do ask that. So I've been a Soroptimist member and on the Live Your Dream Award committee for a couple years, and so I've seen young women and older women and women whose we've had a couple of widows. Sometimes life just throws circumstances at you, and you weren't prepared, but you're willing to do what it takes to get to the next chapter. And so we've seen a wide spectrum of women apply for this award in all kinds of circumstances from all over our area, from Pitt State and Crowder College and Missouri Southern and all the area colleges and universities. So women with a financial need and primary financial responsibility for their household and enrolled in a vocational school or college. And also, if you've won before, you're not eligible to win again.
Oh, right. But you can still become a Soroptimist.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you come for a meeting and just find out what we're all about.
Right. And Chantel, tell us, how did this award affect your life? How did it make a difference?
So for me, being here, my husband is not allowed to work, and so I can only work on campus. He can work once he gets a job sponsorships, which is what the process is that we're taking. So while he's here, we can't work. So I'm the primary, caregiver in our family, and so receiving this award just gave us that nudge to make sure that, or to tell us that, hey, somebody's got your back, somebody's looking at you and after you, and just help me to realize my dreams of becoming an educator.
And I imagine the organization itself there's so many women that can just give you so much information, just the network that is available.
Oh yes, and as now I'm a member of the Soroptimist, and for them, just being there for me, helping me, and knowing it's of so many resources that I could use that I didn't know of before is what I really needed when I came here. I didn't have the community, and now being part of that, I do, and that's great.
Wow, it's terrible that he can't work, but I guess, I mean, he can work at home and take care of the
little
kids.
ones.
Yeah.
He's-
So I bet that's a huge help.
Oh yes, it does, because that put me at ease while I'm at school. I know that they are provided for and they're taken care of, so that's good. And he's such a good dad.
That's great. What does he want to do?
Well, he's a bit older than me, and so he has been working in the construction industry
yeah.
as a civil engineer. So he's got his bachelor's degree, but you know, we're just waiting for the process to take its
That's
its
interesting.
path in.
And so, Chris, what's the deadline to apply every year?
This year will be Monday, November 15th.
Oh, wow.
November 15th.
Okay.
It just falls on a Monday this year.
And it's so you go through a process where you apply and you have to. Do you go before a committee, or how does that work?
You go through the application portal, and it'll ask you to fill out personal information, background, educational, financial information, as well as referrals from 2 different people. And this can all be done through our website at joplinsoroptimist.org and go
Okay.
to the awards section.
Okay, we'll put that
And-
up on the screen.
Okay, and then also it's great for anybody that might want to attend a Soroptimist meeting and just find out a little bit more about what we're about. We meet every Thursday at Mythos here in Joplin, and if you can't attend in person, you're also able to attend via Zoom. So I invite everybody who'd be interested in coming and finding out more to join us.
And what is one of the things, I know Ricky was talking about your local goals. Are there ways that other women can join in or help, or bring projects to mind?
Oh, sure. Well, the club is comprised of many committees, and they all kind of take on different roles. In addition to Live Your Dream, one of the things that we help out with is Camp Soroptimist, and that is a summer camp for area foster children. And we're in the middle of fundraising for that right now. Or I guess the fundraising part just ended, but we sell nuts every fall, nuts and candy, and raise money for Camp Soroptimist for the next summer. So we just turned in all of our nut orders, and we're waiting for those to arrive so that we can deliver them to people, and people can give them as gifts for the holidays. So that's a major initiative. And then we also host an event called Comedy for Camp, and it's a night of stand-up comedy. I think the last time it was held was at Kitchen Pass, but due to COVID, we haven't been able to have that event.
I was going to ask about how the pandemic affected your.
Yeah. Well, it's we weren't able to meet in person for a while, so everybody was on the Zoom calls for meetings, and that was one of the first ways that I think I met Chantel last year, was through a Zoom meeting as an applicant for Live Your Dream Award. And so, you have people that love and hate Zoom, but it sure is handy just to be, just to not have to drive across town to attend a meeting. You can just stop what you're doing, turn your computer on, there you are, you're in the meeting.
That's great. And so you said you were here first, and then you got introduced to Soroptimist.
Yes,
is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So I found out through Soroptimist through MSSU actually. I received a foundation scholarship from MSSU, and I attended the banquet that they have to meet your donor. And at the banquet, they spoke about Soroptimist and how Soroptimist help other women. And as an international student, I don't always get scholarships, like I don't get Pell Grants and stuff. And so I was wondering if this was something that I would be able to,
Participate
in. Yes, sorry, lots
No,
of
you
words.
did.
And so I went onto the site, and then I Googled, Soroptimist, and then I was Live Your Dream Awards, and so I just read up on them, and then I found the Live Your Dream Award, and then I thought, if I don't take a chance now, I'll probably never know if I'll get it or not, and then I did. And that was
And you spoke yesterday at what we call a Missouri Southern, or MOSO Connect, and you were telling people just go for it. If you had anything to say to people, just go for it.
That's correct. So if one thing that America have taught me is to not just be in your own bubble, is to try and get out there. And that's something that I really wanted to do while I get here. I wanted to be more connected with the community, and I wanted to be able to help more, because that's what I did in South Africa. And when I first got here, I didn't have that opportunity to do it because I didn't know the people, and now I do, so that's great.
Yeah, it seems like she's just the perfect fit for Soroptimist.
And you know, she's focusing on exactly what she's supposed to be right now, which is attending school and bettering her life for her and her family. And she'll graduate and get into a wonderful career, and then she'll be able to help people along the way in her journey as well.
And I was thinking about this when we were talking. The pandemic forced a lot of people, like we were talking about, just to be at home. Do you find that there were more women in need of assistance because they were so isolated?
I really can't speak to that because I'm so new to the club and the committee myself. But, you know, we don't necessarily put parameters on what the award goes for. If you're in school and you've got two people there to speak on your behalf, and your story is compelling, and you know, we're there for you.
Right.
And so if you want to use that money because you commute, you live in a rural community and you commute, and you're like, I just need some tires for my
Right.
car. You use the money for the tires, you know, or for books, or if a scholarship falls through or something like that. You know, it's there for the woman to decide how it would best bless her life at that time. So.
And how did you get in, I guess, into the club?
Well, I am a volunteer for the Joplin Chamber, their Chamber Gives Back work group. And one of the activities that we were able to volunteer for was to help out at Camp Soroptimist. And so I showed up at Camp Soroptimist, and I can't remember, it was some kind of obstacle course or something. My husband came out that night and we helped, and I realized I knew several women that were Soroptimists. I just didn't know they were Soroptimists. I was like, oh, she's a member, and she's a member. So I talked to one of them about how to become a member, and here I am.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And how long ago was that?
September of 2019, so just a
Wow.
little over 2 years.
Well, congratulations.
Yep, and I think I've found a good bunch of ladies to hang out with, so.
That's always the best part.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Well, Chantel, good luck in your studies.
Thank you.
And in staying in America. We're really grateful for you to be here.
Thank
and thank
you.
you, Chris.
Thank you.
I want to thank Chris Bullard, Chantel Single, and I'd also like to thank Deb Markman and Ricky Smith with Soroptimist International Joplin for joining us today. This is Newsmakers on KGCS TV from the Ruth Copeland Studios here at Missouri Southern State University, and I'm Bobby Pottruff. We'll see you again soon.